To a lot of people out there, when I grew up as a little kid, I wasn't, I didn't grow up in a Christian home. My dad drank, and it's a tough life when you're not, you don't grow up in a Christian home. They're good parents. They were good parents. They loved me. They took care of me. They fed me, clothed me. They done everything. But I was always hoping that, one day they would take me to church and I could sit beside of them. But that just never did happen. But one day, when I grew up, it did. But I had a sister. I don't know if she's listening, but she's Joan Cochran. And she, as I was little, I was 12 years old and I got saved. And, that's something you'll never forget when you get saved. People go, they go through different things, but, I got saved at Calvary Baptist Church, and the pastor gave an altar call, and I was sitting there holding on to the pew, I didn't want to walk down there, when the Spirit of the Lord, gets a hold of you, you want to hold back, but, you just can't sometimes. So I made that walk, get a profession of faith, and accepted Christ, and then it got tough, it got tough when trying to live a Christian life as a kid, and your parents drank and stuff, my dad, bless his heart, he drank a lot. He would make homemade wine, and I'd pour it out, and he'd call me a little hypocrite and all this, and I wasn't perfect, as Christians, people think you're supposed to be perfect, but, even as adults, we're not perfect. And it was tough because I was still growing, and, and then when I was trying to grow into Christ and stuff, then my dad, he was going to try to help me and stuff. But see, the thing is, my papa was a Baptist preacher, and he lived in Tennessee. And a lot of times he'd take us down there, we'd go to church and stuff. And my papa told me, he said, "Well, you're going to have to pray for your dad to be on his deathbed for him to get saved." And that's a tough thing to do. But, I prayed, and I tell everybody, don't ever give up on prayer. Because, since I was 12 years old, I prayed for my mom and dad to get saved. And it took, my dad had open heart surgery, and he accepted the Lord. When he came out of surgery, he quit drinking, he quit smoking, he quit everything. And the last 20-some years, he lived for the Lord. And, the Lord, saves people in due time, And the same way with my mom. It took something drastic to happen for him to get saved. But, sometimes we want to look at that storybook life, as kids, you really need to count your blessings if you are going to church with a family that's taking you to church, because it's not every, that ain't the way it is a lot of times.
That's right.
But then as I was living for the Lord, I got married, and I became a youth director a couple of churches, and the Lord called me to preach. And you look back at things and you say, well, did he really call me? He called me 1991, and I fought this for a long time. When he first called me, I preached at a lot of these little churches. I never did take no college classes. I didn't go to college or nothing. But and then as you get in life, if the one thing I've realized is that if you know what God wants you to do, He ain't gonna let you go until you do it. And you can make every excuse in the book, and it don't matter. And that's what happened through these years that living for the Lord. And I would always make excuses, And then, but the last few years I've been preaching some. Wesley's chapels at Dean and stuff. But then, you know, that old devil gets on you, and I said, well, you know, I'm really not, at the time I wasn't going to church much, and it was hard for me to, I ain't even going through all these notes I got here, I don't know where I'm going. But at Wesley Chapel at Dean, I told him, I said, you know, I just don't feel right. But he said, oh, that's that old devil. He said, you'll be all right. But, you know, you can tell, and even if you are going to church, sometimes you're still away from the Lord. You know, sometimes, a lot of times we go through the motion. And we just go to church as a routine, and you just go through the motion, and you're there, but you're really not there. And I've been there before. I've been to church almost all my life. And sometimes I'm just sitting there, sitting in the pew, just taking up space. And you know, so the Lord's been dealing with me. And the Lord just won't let me go. And He's put me in every situation that He can for me to preach. So, you know, all I ask the ones that are out there just to pray for me. And I know the Lord's going to lead me somewhere. I don't know where. But, you know, I'm tired of running. And the Lord's blessed me through my whole life. But, you know, you look at this life, and it really don't matter how much money you make. It don't matter how many things you got in this world. The most important thing that I want to remember out of this life is how much I love the Lord and how much I love my family. And that's, you know, people don't realize that that's the most important thing, and that's what we're here for. You know, we're here to serve God.